Hi friend, welcome to Mountain Meadow Homestead. My name is Melissa if you're new here, and today I wanted to talk about the essentials for canning. We like to preserve our harvest in multiple different ways, some of those being freeze drying, freezing, and canning. And so today we're going to talk about what do you need to can. The difference between water bath canning and pressure canning, it has to do with the acidity of the food that you're preparing to can. For high acidity foods, you're going to use water bath canning. For lower acidity foods, which most of your vegetables are, you're going to use pressure canning. Later today, I'm going to pressure can some beans, and those do require pressure canning because they are a very low acid food. Okay, so what I have here are some tools that I deem kind of as a necessity when canning. Now, you can buy kits online that have these tools plus more, but what I'm going to show you is what I use when I can each and every time. So right here I have, this is a headspace measuring tool. The other end can be used to debubble your jars. So when you're canning, a lot of recipes will tell you leave a 1/2 inch or an inch, depending on the recipe, and this will help you know if you've got that headspace correctly. The other end, you'll go in and you'll debubble the contents that are in the jar to make and that helps make sure that your headspace is the proper amount. The next thing I have is a jar lifter, and this helps you lift the jars in and out of the hot water so that you don't burn yourself. Definitely a must. And here I have a funnel. I like to have stainless steel just so that the plastic ones can stain sometimes, or if the contents are too hot. I just feel safer with having stainless steel. But I got a kit of these. One is smaller than this one, and I tend to just lean towards the one because it works for both wide mouth and regular mouth jars. So that's definitely a must. You're obviously gonna want jars. Now here I have a quart jar, a pint jar, and a 1/2 pint. And then I have 2 different mouths. So this one is a wide mouth and this one is a regular mouth. You can hopefully see the difference here, but some things I like a regular mouth and some things I like a wide mouth, and some things it just doesn't matter to me. Now, one example with the regular mouth that I have a preference of is when I'm canning peaches. It helps to kind of keep the peaches down below the syrup, and so I like to use a regular mouth. Whereas some items that may be harder to get out of your jars, like beans or like green beans, you might want a wide mouth. This 1/2 pint size you'll typically use for things like jams or jellies or things that you want in smaller quantities. You're gonna want your lids. I like to use the 4-jar brand. They seem to work the best for me in the consistency of sealing when I am canning. I've used Ball for a couple years and they do okay, but I found these last year and I really, really like them. So you'll want, and these come when you buy jars. You'll have a lid and a ring that comes with your jars. So you shouldn't have to buy these separately. Now, if you've been canning for a while, you're obviously going to use the lids that come with your jars, and so then you'll need to buy more lids. You can reuse your rings as long as there is no indents in them, because an indent or a dent can cause the seal to fail when you're canning. So you don't want to do that. So the next thing I have here is a water bath canner, and you don't necessarily need to buy something that is specifically made for water bath canning. You can use your pressure canner pot. you can use a regular old stainless steel pot. As long as you have something in the bottom of that pot so that your jars are not sitting on the bottom of the pot. If they're sitting on the bottom of the pot and they've got contact, that can cause your jars to possibly break. So whatever you do, you want something in the bottom. I've ever seen people use just a towel in the bottom, or like a silicone, what do you call those? A silicone oven mitt in the bottom. So just something to protect the bottom of your jar so that you reduce that risk of breakage. If you're going to pressure can, or you want to can any items that are a low acidity food, you're gonna want a pressure canner. There are some pressure canners that are fairly expensive, and then you've got ones on the lower end price-wise. I have a Presto pressure canner. There is the All-American pressure canner that is really awesome. The difference between the two is this one has a rubber seal on the inside and the All-American doesn't. So you'll want a pressure canner. Most pressure canners come with everything that they need, including a weight, your dial, and the seal, and then the trivet at the bottom. So you'll want a pressure canner if you're gonna pressure can, or if you're gonna can anything that has low acid in it. The next thing that is not a must, but I recommend, and that is a canning book. Now, I've got a couple here, and I'm just gonna move this out of the way so I can show it to you. I've got two from the Ball Canning Company, and then one it's written by Diane Deveray, I think is what it's called. I'll show it to you. So this is the complete guide to pressure canning. And this book has a lot of meals in a jar. So this is really good if you want to make shelf-stable meals. I highly recommend getting this book. She walks you through each recipe in great detail. So these next two, you have the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. And as you can see, it's well loved. And then I got this one last year. This is the all new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. And it just has some newer, fancier recipes in it. So I use both. I mainly use this one. And then my pressure canner did come with a guide on to do basic things like canning your vegetables, beans, meat, tomatoes, and that kind of stuff. So I reference these two quite a bit when it comes to canning season, and Mac and I are actually going to sit down and we're going to go through and list out all the recipes that we'd like to can this season so that we have kind of a goal to shoot for and what quantity. So that is what I recommend. Now, when it comes to actually sitting down and canning, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to prep the night before. So prepping the night before, you're gonna pull out your jars, and I would wash them in hot soapy water, or you can run them on the sanitizing cycle on your dishwasher. And I would get whatever canner you're gonna be using out and just have everything as prepped and ready to go as you can. The one thing to keep in mind when you're pressure canning is it's gonna take longer than you think it's gonna take. And I forget this every time when I start canning with the pressure canner, but it will take you about an hour for this to come down to zero pressure after you've canned. And then you have to take your jars out of it. So I've had many a night when I go, okay, I'm gonna can this. I can it and I'm up till midnight because I have to wait on this to depressurize so I can get my jars out. So let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments. I'm not a pro by any means, but I have been canning for a few years now, and there are things that I can every year and love to have on the shelves. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. It's really not as intimidating as it may look. So the best thing you can do is just dive in and give it a try. I would say if you're new to canning, the first things that are like good intro level canning will be like applesauce and jams and jellies, and those are pretty easy. Salsa is fairly easy. Give those a try and see what you think. If you have any tips or tricks that you'd like to share with others or items that you absolutely love, I'd love for you to put them in the comments down below so that everyone can learn together. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it with others so that we can get it out there to as many people as we can. And if you're new here, we would love if you would subscribe and stay with us as we go throughout our gardening this year and our preserving season. And we hope to see you next time. Bye.